All right, guys, I know this is overdue. However, the Pledge Manager is open, so that'll be linked down in the description below. I'm excited to get into this. I'm excited to see what all they sent because I know they're going to send a little bit of it, but this seems like quite a bit. And, I don't know. I guess we'll see. There was some back and forth on like what they'd be able to provide. So it'll be kind of cool to see what's in this box. Like I said, it's bigger than I thought it would be. Oh, look at that. Look at that. What is this? What is this? Oh, vanilla, marshmallow, and dark chocolate. Now, they know the way to my heart. That is exciting. This is awesome. Yeah, super cool. This is like not even in English first. So I'm assuming this is like Polish. Very cool. Oh, I'm excited to try that. That'll be awesome. No, I won't do that to you guys. But, oh my goodness, already exciting. Okay, all right, there's some corners there. But we got plenty more. We got some paint. Oh, the painted looks amazing, guys. Oh, super pumped about this. I am sorry this isn't out sooner. I really am. And then some unpainted as well. Very, very cool. All right, let's take a look. Let's see, we got some of this here. There's even more here. And some of this. All right. Okay, there's a lot here. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, now the reason I cut off like that is because I had to get some tools, obviously. I wasn't prepared. And then I also got a smattering of miniatures to compare size to. Here is a Kingdom Death Monster. Here is a Space Marine. Here is one of the characters from Madara. So we got some board games here. Here's a Freebooters metal miniature. We got a regular human in Warhammer. Then we have a big ol' honkin' Oathsworn guy as well. So we can kind of just see how this, let's see what it looks like with this range of sizes in place. I think that might be interesting. And hopefully you have something similar to one of these so you can kind of tell the scale of everything, right? Because, depending on the pose of all these people, depends on, what is 32 millimeters really, right? We're going to start out with the painted for sure. Let's zoom in on this. That looks fantastic. So, one of the things you always kind of wonder about when it comes to pre-painted is operations, right? In other words, like how many operations are they doing on the sprue itself? The other question is the technology used to actually do it. Because there are some that do like an actual essentially like a plastic print, right? And then they have stuff like this. So right here, you can see, here's Archon. And then right up here, you're going to see the Prism Cast. That's the technology used on this one. Now, as you can see, they have like a bit of a primer that sprays on. You can see the spray here. So it primes onto all the runners here and the channels and all that still have it. And you can see where they print on it as well. And so they have the primer that then goes onto it, and then they paint it on top of that. And there's obviously also like a wash to pull into a lot of this kind of stuff. So yeah, I know, honestly, I'm quite impressed. Now, one of the interesting things that I'm noticing is you see how this primer is like sprayed? You get a little bit of that in some of the lighter colors that aren't quite as opaque. So like this red door, that's like really dark red. It looks essentially perfect. Like there's no like speckling, right? Same with the white. Honestly, I don't see a whole lot of that. You see, it's a little abstract, right? You see a little bit of the yellow here, a little bit of the yellow here. But then on like this light colored stone, you can see a little bit of like almost speckling, right? It almost looks like there's like almost a texture to it. And to an extent there is, right? Like if I do that, and then, like do that, even that, I feel a little bit more of a texture there as it layers on stuff, right? But I'm just noticing that on the lighter. So like this darker, again, you don't see any of that on the lighter. You do see that a little bit. So kind of interesting there, that's for sure. It is painted on both sides, which is also super cool to see. That's awesome. You can see some differences, right? So like if you see how much yellow is here versus how much yellow is here, there's obviously more there. So, or the yellow here, right, where the lantern would go, you can tell this is the inside versus the outside, or vice versa. It just depends on where you want the light, I guess, but typically you reinforce the inside of it like that. and the outside looks like that. But either way, that's pretty darn cool, I would say. I think that's awesome. I don't see any hair stuck to it. See, you can almost see like the print lines. Like it almost looks like an FTM very slightly. But one of the nice things here that I'm also seeing is how this wash or this like darker color appears, because they may have highlighted on, I don't know exactly how they did it. Even on this shallow bit of ripples, you can see it pool there, and it really pops those out, so you can really see those ripples. Makes it look like water a lot more there. That is awesome. That is super cool. Let's see a few more examples here. So you can see the exact same sprue, right? And if you can see consistency, I would say that's very consistent. That looks the same. Now, it's not quite the same, right? And that's good. You don't want it quite the same. But even when it comes to like which rocks did they make dark, right? That's the same as well. So no, you're not going to get any variation. Maybe even if you wanted it to, which is kind of interesting as well. So even this like darker gray around here, it's right here. It's pretty much the exact same application every single time, which is cool. I mean, at least you get that consistency. I'd rather have that consistency than not. But it does mean that if you did want to like change up which rock in here was gray, well, they're going to look the exact same every time. That being said, most people aren't looking that closely to it anyway. Now, one thing will be interesting is right near where it connects and where it's hard to get to, right? I'm going to be looking at that as well. In other words, how well does it paint right here, right? Right where there's a runner on the vertical part here, right? So some of the things, often it's a flat edge, right? But even like that, like I'm guessing they can't get the paint in that well right there. But we'll see, we'll see. Let's see, do we have anything different? Okay, so we do here. So here they painted it differently. So it's the same sprue, and for the most part, it's all the same, right? Same rock, same everything, but they changed this to be sand instead of water. And they're showing the difference here. So that's pretty cool to see sand and water. And honestly, again, and especially with sand, the texture works really well. For natural things, rocks, wood, even the sand here, that works like it perfect. It's actually a benefit. It's a great thing there. So that's really interesting to see as well. Very cool. All right, see if we have any others. We got another sand one. Got another sand one. Got another, oh, we got lots of sand. And then this is different. This is new. Okay, all right. So let's move that aside. Again, we'll clip all that. Look at this one. Wow, that looks great. Just the amount of colors they have available is really nice as well. You know, often when I'm painting miniatures and I talk about, you know, like actually I think when I was painting him, I talked about it, right? That if you can have different colors, it helps a lot. In other words, it's not all the same brown. It's not all the same tan, right? It's not all the same whatever. So the more you use the same color, obviously the cheaper and the quicker. But if you vary it, if you change what it looks like, that is huge. It is. It adds a lot of difference knowing that, you know, the different browns are different. So for instance, his satchel's here, right? So, and I'm not trying to show off my painted minis necessarily, but I'm pretty proud of them. But either way, this brown satchel is a different brown than his brown cloak, which is a different brown than this one right here, his holster. And you don't have to. You can just use one brown or just two. I used 3. And while it takes a little bit longer, it adds to the visual diversity. And what happens is your eye appreciates it, even if you're not noting it. You might not note how this is different than this, which is different than, you know, this, you know, or which is different than this. So, you know, you're not looking at it that closely, but you do notice there are a variety of colors, and your eye takes it all in and digests it and processes it and appreciates it more. So even if people aren't looking at it critically, it does indeed make a difference. So I'm really happy to see all these different color variations of like rock inside of here. That's fantastic. Now, one thing I will note is sometimes, like right here, and especially right here, you can tell a lot, it does get a little shiny because of that like wash that they're obviously adding into it is a little, as it pools in there, it gets slightly shiny. In fact, the whole thing is slightly shiny. You see that? So one of the main things you can do to stop that is just spray some matte varnish on it and it knocks that shine down a lot. It'll also knock down that texture you can kind of see when it reflects. Those like lines, maybe you can see it in there. A matte varnish will help with that a lot. Really, the idea is you don't want it to look painted, right? So sometimes you do. Like in this armor, that's purposely made to be kind of shiny, right? That's on purpose. Or the shield there, right? On purpose. But I had to specifically do that because notice his cloth here is not shiny, right? And so I actually had to use a brush on to differentiate between the two. This one I didn't want his armor to be shiny, and therefore it's only shining the fact that it's metallic, not shining the fact that it has any gloss on it, so it's a matte varnish. And so that's really the difference there. I would suggest some matte varnish on that. It'll look fantastic, unless you want it to look shiny, in which case it's already there. You could do the opposite as well. A lot of people, because they feel the gloss varnish, again, I don't know, I don't think there's really any varnish on this per se. I'm not exactly sure how, maybe there's a varnish over it. Kind of hard to tell. Well, I guess, I mean, I could start, like, seeing if I can scrape it off. That's a test. Like, there's some kind of imperfection there, right? But I can't really, like, there's not really coming off or scuffing up too bad at all, which is kind of neat. Yeah, it's pretty well protected here. I do this for you guys, and I can't, yeah, that's great. Either way, it's on there, which is awesome. But yeah, you can knock a matte varnish on there. Some people think gloss varnish protects more. You can do a gloss and then a matte on top of it. You're still not stuck with gloss, so that's awesome. It ends up being more of a satin. I love the layer lines of this, like over time. That's really cool to see. Yeah, this whole, the depth and the changes here look great. It's still where you can kind of see the squares, which is kind of neat as well, right? It's still kind of in a quadrant of 4, right, or more. And so you still gonna always have the visual variety there. And these corners and sides look cool. On the inside here, and again, I don't know if this is how it connects or what. It looks like that might be how it does. I don't know, because obviously this doesn't quite look right. And oh yeah, see, it would slot in right there. So yeah, as long as you connect those, it'll look great. Awesome. Okay, now there's yet another one right here. This is the back of it, but as you can see, oh, the door, see how it has, it's a little bit of almost like overspray a little bit. So it has a little bit of glowiness here. And then here, it's got a little bit of glowiness there. I think that's a lot more on purpose. That's pretty cool. And here's the front of it there. So you even have some rubble here. So this is essentially a 360 view of it, right? Or at least a 180. Even these little bits here painted. So they can go really tiny. They can go larger. The detail here, right, of the edge highlight that essentially this has, super awesome to see. The little bit of glow of the white and then the yellow and then the, like, that is like, do you see the gradient there? So good. Even a little bit of yellow here. Like, whoever designed this had a lot of artistic vision in it, which is awesome. Here, the 4x4, again, very easy to see. Looks fantastic. Wow. That looks great. Looks really good. Now, one thing I see here is, looks like this is sprayed perhaps slightly more than this side. Kind of interesting. And there's some really interesting, like, glow or rust here or something from the bars, which looks kind of cool too. I dig that. All right, so we got that, we got this, we got all of these. See, here's an unpainted version. That's the difference. Look at that. That is cool to see what a little bit of paint does. That to that, right? I mean, just night and day, if you ask me. Or the door, right? Huge. That's cool. Here's this one. So again, huge difference there. And what it looks like visually, right? Huge difference. That's cool. Incredible. Now they have a few others here that I don't have painted. So I want to show that off. And then we'll show the clear one at the end. And then I'll build some of it. Look at the detail here though, right? I mean, very good detail. This is a great plastic. It is really, really nice. They've come a long way with these connectors as well. They're not nearly as thick in the first round, they could be very, very thick. Not the case anymore. They're actually much thinner now, which is nice. Again, the detail level looks great here. Even this doesn't look too unnatural, so if you don't put anything in it, that's fine. But if you do, that works as well. You have some openings, so you can also see through it a little bit, right? So you can always see the minis inside. These look great. Love these peaks here. That's super cool. We got more corner pieces there. As you can see, these right here. Big connection pieces. They're going to look really cool. Some little scatter terrain or whatever there. Then you have these even like broken squares here to break things up a little bit. That's awesome. Fantastic. More and more and more. I'm seeing if there's anything different here. Also, you have your connections, and they do have them in gray and brown now. So that's cool. And finally, we have the actual slime cubes. So this will go together. I'll put this together and show you. Obviously, it's all in that, but you wouldn't necessarily want the stuff sticking out of it not to be. So painting this up, we'll be painting around the green, essentially. But that's super cool. And again, I believe you can even put the mini inside of there, which would be awesome. So let's see how that looks like. All right, so I just clipped this off. So I wanted to show you how it clips off right away. First of all, this is pretty robust. I've hit it like 3 times. It hasn't broken yet. Obviously, one that's connected a little bit more helps. So one of the things, and same with this, I keep like pushing this. Very hard to kind of grab this one. I wanted to show you how the clippings look raw, right? Like without being trimmed or anything like that. Because with the clear, it often shows a bit more because it will turn white as it kind of like gets bent. And as you can see, it does need a little bit of cleanup, right? Obviously, you know, you cut this right there. It's fairly smooth, but like any model project, right? You need to kind of, you know, do a little bit there. Now, one of the nice things here that I think will show really well, that they really thought of here, is I was wondering, like the skeleton guy, right? Like there's not really a great way to paint inside of that so it shows as if it's like a different color within that. But there actually is. First of all, there's either little bits coming out or alternatively, and this is actually pretty often, there's pieces inside. So in this one, nothing inside, this is inside, this is inside. But then on here, there's nothing there. So for the most part, I think it'll work out okay, right? Like this one here comes out here. So you're either painting the inside or the outside. He's like right in the middle, right in half, right? And so you get that, as long as you're careful, you can paint the right side that you want to paint, which is really cool to see. I appreciate that. They also put bubbles in this on purpose, which is kind of cool. Very neat to see. And these bubbles, I believe how they did them is by making them all textured. As far as I can tell, every single one of them is either popping in or popping out, which is kind of cool too. So I do appreciate a lot of that. And again, you can paint all this up. It would look great. Obviously, you're going to want to paint with a primer, like a base from Citadel or a 70 dot whatever from Vallejo and stuff like that. There's others that denote when you could prime paint. Now, if you were to put this together, it doesn't quite work out perfectly yet, just because of those you know, pieces. But it would kind of look like that, right? Now notice, like it doesn't seem to fit perfectly. And I think that's on purpose too, because I believe the idea is this part here would either be open or have, you know, this here, like right here, something like that, I believe is what it's supposed to do. So I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but then you could totally put your mini inside of there. It would look cool. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm not going to bother trimming it too much more. I think you guys get the idea of how it would look like. For the most part, it looks like it would glue just fine. Any clear plastic, you do have to worry about the glue a little bit that you use as well. That's obviously something that matters quite a bit. And yeah, this should go somewhere. I don't exactly know how, but... And then you also have even this. Now, the detail-wise, sometimes it's hard to see, but if you can tell, there's even like tiny little drippings of like goo on this little piece here, which is super awesome. So very, very detailed. All right, I'm going to get back to building, and I'll catch you on the other side. All right, now it's been a while since I built this, so I'm going to do it on camera so I can see how intuitive it is. One thing I did want to show is that this is some rampart that I painted a while back. It took a lot longer than I care to admit, so don't ask me how long it took. It was a long time. But compared to how much time I put into this one piece, right? And obviously I magnetized this one and whatnot, but honestly, yeah, they're about equal, guys. I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of rough, right? There's some a little bit of difference, and if nothing else, I can exactly pick the colors that I want. But yeah, it's pretty similar. So this is how the doors pop in. So they just are right there. They open quite nicely, as you can see. So that's really good. What is that white on there? I guess it's on purpose, whatever that is. Anyway, so it opens fine. All right, it can even open all the way. To close it though, closing it often will pop these out. If nothing else, on the second open it will, right? So they just kind of fit in there through pressure. But the paint doesn't seem to bother it any. It clears fine without any clippings or anything like that. So overall, pretty darn cool there. Okay, now there's end pieces like this that snap in like that. And then there's connection pieces like this that'll snap in and then have a bit of a middle to it as well. Now, again, if you trim these more, again, I'm not clipping these, right? So they're a little rough around the edges, but either way, they seem to fit nicely together like that. And again, this is without any sort of touch up or really any care. Like, see, that's a bit of a pressure, but I can still push it in there even without trimming it out any. Now, see, that can happen sometimes. See how it's like bent in like that? And a lot of that's because I haven't trimmed these, right? So they're a little bit tighter than normal. But then all you do is you can just put in a little rock piece like that, and that should fit in there fairly well. And now you can't tell necessarily that there's even a clip there. And then you can go to town. So we can get the door here, put that in there like so. Again, you can have an inside outside, and again, see, like, there's a little bit of trimming there. I could get a knife and really trim that out, and you're still going to see a little bit of a mold line, right, where the two pieces of the injection mold went together, and that might need to be touched up a little bit. Nope, that was enough, I think, to really get it in there. To actually clear, you can also get a knife or whatever, but you can totally, and that just kind of popped out. I know they have this little clip piece, right? And one of the new things they did is see that they have that little like texture to them, almost like a connects kind of thing, like a Lego thing. And you can also just put that in there. I imagine that's what it wants, because that'll really lock it in a lot more than if I line it up, than any sort of other piece. That really locks it in there by the looks of it. So we shove that in there. There we go. Now those pieces really aren't coming off. Okay, all right. This is just scatter terrain. It literally just sits on there, right? You have different pieces like this, and the torches can go inside of it like so. Just be careful about them, but those go in like that. And then if you don't like it on the other side, you can put it on both inside and outside. Works just fine. Now, one thing to note, and this is something I've noticed. So these are like this, and as you can see, let's focus. Painted really well, right? Painted really well. Even on the ends somewhat. But where that runner was, like I suspected, they can't quite get the paint all the way in there, right? So you will kind of see that on the inside outside. Now that's more unfortunate on these, unless you're looking like that, all right? Because then you do kind of have that line. But anything lightly colored like that, it will have that in there. Either way, what this does is it goes on like that. So then if we have the door here, like so, and then if I put in two more pieces, here and here, you can then even line up the wall just like that. Put another one here, or in fact, what we could do is have a little bit of a corner. So let's take that out, put it over here. You can see it goes in pretty darn easily. And now we have a corner. So then we'd want another one here, another one here. You can see how quick this is. It's actually quite quick and easy. I'm really impressed. I really am. The corners here match as well, making a very nice natural corner there. And again, this is roughed in, right? Like I didn't trim this like I normally would. But as you can see, the amount of like the corner there, and again, if this was better, it would be even better. But it makes a really nice corner in there. It looks really cool. Now you throw in some of that even. This is half of one, so the other half isn't painted. So I didn't get the other half, but it would just go together, right? There's a little lock in here, and then you could even have like a pillar or something like that. For the meantime, I'm just going to put it in the corner here. But you can kind of see how that looks like, right? Pretty darn cool. The door can open to another area if you want. I think that is awesome. Let's get some characters in here. Here's probably the smallest one I have. This is a regular Warhammer character. It's about, again, Warhammer doesn't use like proper scaling. It's about a D&D size, right? It's maybe a 30 instead of a 28, but it's not too much bigger. So this is kind of how a character would look like in this, right? You can move around like normal. I think that's awesome. It looks really cool. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and lower the angle a little bit. There we go. Now you can kind of see. This is about my head height. So this is about how you'll see it, right? Just like looking straight down. Now, again, you will notice a little bit, right? And I'm sure over time they'll iterate on this. But any clips that were on top obviously aren't. And sometimes the spray, it's like this, they got into it. This, they didn't quite get into it, right? I think every other piece looks like they got it pretty evenly. And the natural color that this was, if I take this stuff off, took a torch out, is like this dark green, right? And so that's kind of actually what you're seeing here, which fits well with how they painted it. So I'm okay with that. But that's kind of what they did there. Now, if you had, like, Freebooters is actually a much better scale when it comes to like any kind of D&D kind of situation here. So you can kind of see how that fits quite well on there. There you can see them next to a door and a torch. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like it. It does the visual theme where you can really feel them in there, but at the same time you can see your minis and actually use them. So that's awesome. I do dig that. They do have this other door here. Again, works pretty well as well. So maybe it goes into kind of a rickety part at the end or something, you know. So it's kind of cool that that even matches, even though the door is taller. So I can appreciate that a little bit as well. Yeah, this all looks great. This one, remember, I was going to kind of talk to you about this a little bit. As you can see, it does kind of struggle to get there where that runner is, and that's kind of everywhere, right? That's why there's this dark spot here. Some do it better than others, and also if there's wood or something there, I think it works pretty well. Overall, I think this is great. Like, don't get me wrong, this is really, really good. This came, I had to clip it together, and then it just works, and it's fully painted. You know how much of this is not painted? Most of it, because it takes forever to do, and I don't have time to paint everything. So, like, I get it. Like, this works really well. If we take some of these, I wanted to get some of the corner pieces in there too. So let's see how that looks. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, so let's see. So you have, looks like 2 different spots here. It looks like it would go, there we go. So these 2 go together. So it would be like this. And then like this. And what that does, ideally, creates a sort of corner, which is super awesome. So let's see if we can't connect that more. So let's put this in here. And we'll put this in here just to fill up the hole. will be a slight hole otherwise, if I can fit it in. Maybe. Maybe it's easier once I put the other piece in. There we go. Okay. And you can always put some terrain there as well. And again, see, like, there's a kind of a bigger piece here. Let me get one where I clipped it maybe better, or there was an edge. Here we go. That's how it should be. So when you trim it up, again, it'll actually go in quite nice, right? So then, I don't know. It looks like it could just kind of curve some more. So let's do that. So then this would come in like this. These corners for the caves, super awesome. They really change up a lot. And again, you could even like really mix and match it, I imagine. But for now, I'm going to do this. And then take this piece and put it in like that. And then like a glove, look at that. That's so cool. And then I think it could go into like a normal square situation. So let's see. That would fit this a bit more, I feel. Yes. Perfect. Okay, cool. I'm going to put this on the inside. I feel like this should have one of those torches. A lit torch. There we go. Now this is painted, and so it's a little tighter and it's a little skinny here, so you got to be a little bit careful. But there we are. Okay. Here's that. Get another corner. Guys, this is honestly easy. I mean, this like it's just easy. And I mean that in a very positive way. It just works. I don't know what to tell you. Works just fine. Quick and easy to do. Okay, put that in there. We'll even close it off. Sure, why not? Or maybe it just goes into like water afterwards, right? It could do that too, but we'll close it off. Put a little diorama here. Why not? Okay. There we go. As easy as that, guys. Look at that. Is that not cool or what? Wow. These corners work out so well. I mean, just beautifully. Just beautifully. So again, if you get your guy in there, right? It just works. Very, very cool. Love it. All right, put a few more scales in here. Here is a Kingdom Death Monster Mini. I think that still works fairly okay. That's definitely putting it to an extreme. Again, I don't think this hurts too bad, except, I mean, obviously if the lights are too low, it's kind of silly, but that still works. Here is a Space Marine, which actually still kind of works even with that. The hardest part there is this is a 40mm base. Here's the Madara character, very flamboyant one. Probably a little too tall on them. And then finally an Oathsworn, which we all knew this wasn't going to work, but you can see that as well. If this was like shrubs and stuff, it still would totally work. If they did an outdoor one like that, this would actually be totally fine. That'd be a cool Oathsworn diorama, actually. All right. Well, there is that. And again, there's so much more, right? I was showing like all of these craggly ones and stuff. It's awesome. Again, it is linked down below. Feel free to get yourself some. If you can work with it, highly recommend the painted one. Just the convenience alone is so good. The quality is impressive, considering it's literally painted on the sprue. It just goes together very well. It works awesome. It looks great. Highly, highly recommended. That is cool. All right, so I was done filming this, and they were able to finish the belly of the beast, like some of the sprues there. So I want to kind of show that off as well. Now, none of these are painted per se yet, but they do have some hills, which is fun. It's great to see the hills. And then they have some of the flat flooring and stuff, plus some little sidewall decoration stuff. They have some more kind of half walls and whatnot, and then even some more here. Now, this, of course, as always, really, really detailed. So when it comes to all the different, parts of it, right? The layering here, like for instance right here, really, really fantastic. It just, I love these deep recesses as that shows off the quality of the detail and everything like that is on point. And the connections, again, as previously, seem to be a lot better. Oh man, the pustules there, that looks really good too. So let's go ahead, snip a few off, see how it ends up. I'm really excited about these hills too. That's kind of fun. We'll get a few of these off and see how it looks. Should come off fairly clean. The interesting part here will be how it looks on the bottom, if it lays flat or not. A lot of that depends on how the sprue is. It should be easy to clean up if that's the case, but we'll find out. Might not even need to do that. Definitely nice and secure to the sprue, so pieces shouldn't be falling off or anything like that, which is good. And looks, I don't know if there is some, like right here, you can see a few spots here, so we'll need to trim those off to lay it more flat. And again, this is not a perfect trim. This is a quick job, which is nice to show off anyway. So see, most of those did have a little bit of connection point on the bottom. And again, it could be, smoother. I could always use my knife to trim it up some, but I think that's good for now. I'm going to get the other two, just because these are different than almost anything else I've shown in the Dungeons and Lasers set. I know I've seen them before. Had a few from like when they had like flowers and grass on them and junk like that, which is kind of nice. This looks a lot more natural than those did. Those hills very much had the kind of grid, right? Which, I mean, this does too, but it doesn't quite look just like grid. And I think the other ones did to a degree. They're still good, but I think these are even better. All right. Now, how much your character can stand on it? Oh, that's where that grid comes in, right? So, but it looks like, for the most part, they've allowed, at least for big miniatures, to be able to be on this. So that's good. All right. Well, that's, again, about as easy as it takes to clean up a sprue. Again, you can scrape this a little bit more if you need to, if you feel you need to. You might need to, might not. Minimal mess, really. I'm going to go ahead and take some of these off too, and then I'll catch up at the end. Okay, so one of the nice things about this is it looks like it's too small to clip here. That's because you can just take them off pretty much like that. Again, these go underneath, and so it doesn't really have to be like perfect, if that makes sense. Now these, again, you can do that, and they can come off a little bit, but it's still kind of bendy, right? And so it's a little bit hard to do that. But these on the side, that's how you get those off, right? Pretty easy to get the ones that are too small like that off. Otherwise, you are going to want to kind of clip them off. And again, that's mostly just because of the bend more than anything else. Otherwise, that's kind of how easy these are to take apart, which is also nice. But everything else, just you clip it off. Does not take too long at all. All right, now here is a very quick assembly. So this would actually fit together even better if I trimmed. You can see some of the little gaps there. It's just from the sprues. You trim that up, it fits like a glove. You guys know that. You guys have seen it, in ones like this where I put it together really nice. It's just a quick look. But as you can see, it creates for some fantastic looking terrain. You can even have like these kind of little like things that go off into lava or, you know, pus-filled stomach bile junk or God knows what, right? Or even if you had this on a second level and it like overhanged something, that looks super cool. Either way, I really like this kind of broken edge thing that you can do here. I'm sure you guys can make better maps than this. Is just kind of an example that you can have. I do love the curved, not quite square look to a lot of it like this, right? It fits together, again, very, very good. As you can see, they look perfect. They really do. And again, there's a little bit like a gap here. That's just because of that. It would fit perfectly like that if I you know, spent a little bit more time, cleaned it up. And really, the reason I didn't is because I wanted to actually show you how you could use it just like this if you wanted to. Like, that's no problem. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time. It can go pretty quick, which is nice. But it would be even better if I trimmed a little bit. But yeah, so that is really cool, of course. And then, you know, you have the hills and stuff like that. So if you wanted to set something up, you can totally do that and really kind of make it your own map, make it exactly how you would want it, you know, whatever that might look like, you can do, which is pretty cool. I love it. I think that's great. I see, I didn't even put these in the little stoppers, but they even have that to put them in the middle. Very, very cool. And again, the painted versions, just so good. So good. This is really good quality stuff, and I've been exceptionally surprised, happy, and content with everything they've shown me. The quality is definitely there. The detail level is fantastic. The way it fits together is smart. You can tell that they have done this. They've thought it through. This is not their first rodeo, and it's looking great. So, yeah, the Pledge Manager is open now, so I'll link down to it in the description below. Feel free to check that out, of course. And if you have any questions on it and would like to ask them, feel free to. I'll try to answer anything I can. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye, guys.